It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is LA Guns from their last studio release with You Better Not Love Me, Chris, and a guy who's shown the Classic Metal Show a little bit of love this week by coming on is my good friend Stacey Blades, formerly of LA Guns and currently of Let It Rawk. Welcome to the Classic Metal Show there, Stacey.
Good to talk with you guys again. It's been a while.
Yeah, you've never been on the show, dude. I've hung out with you on numerous occasions at live shows.
What the hell?
Yeah, seriously. But
well, it's funny because I got, my agent always sends me these Google alerts with anything LA Guns, and he sent me that interview that you guys did 2 years ago when I left the band.
Right.
But you just had put it on YouTube, so I thought, oh, you know what? It's like I've never been on the show, so that's why I reached out to you guys. I'm like, hey, let's chat.
Well, that's cool. Well,
it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, the thing is, Stacey, and I'm sure if you listened to the little discussion we had, I think both Chris and I were surprised that you just left the band because, in the time that I've known you and the time that I've hung out with Steve and Phil, you guys always seemed to got along real well, and I couldn't even fathom there might have been any problems within the band. Right. At least you guys didn't let on in any way, shape, or form, because every time I saw you on the stage together, or even backstage, you guys got along great. So what happened?
Well, we had been really touring, just really overworked. I thought. As great as that is, when you spend a little too much time around people, you start getting on each other's nerves. We had done about 18 months and went right into pre-production for Hollywood Forever, and it just kind of started butting heads with almost everybody when we started doing the record, and I felt like I was, kind of being held back as a musician and as a guitar player. And I was, after, almost 10 years, I really wanted to express myself. And as an artist, I can't speak for everybody, but, I'm always trying to attain, new level of musicianship and not just do the same thing over and over and over. And I kind of noticed that a lot of the ideas that I was bringing in as far as like solos and songwriting and stuff, it was kind of butting heads with everybody, and it just kept kind of escalating, and then we started touring for the album, and I just started getting really burned out. And by the time we had hit, the Scandinavia that summer, I had some physical problems with my leg. I was having some, very deep-rooted issues, family issues, and I didn't want to be on the road anymore, and, I needed a break. And, I thought the guys would have kind of had my back on that, and they kind of turned on me. And when that happened, it was just like I had to kind of just take a step back and go, okay, I'm not happy, I'm not getting along with everybody, they don't allow me to take a break. So, it came to, I had one night, it was just really, really bad. And the next day I was like, I think I'm done. And
right.
So it was a combination of a lot of things, and it was fairly amicable. But when I finished out the year, and we finished my last show was an Alice Cooper thing that he does every Christmas called Christmas Pudding. It was a great way to finish with the band, and it was an amicable split. I haven't really spoken to anybody other than Scotty, who's no longer in LA Guns as well now. It was almost 2 years ago, actually, to the date. That's kind of it in a nutshell, And it's too bad because I put a lot of my heart and soul and a lot of miles with those guys and a lot of records and a lot of good times. So, I am grateful for the gig, and I thought that my time with the band was pretty awesome.
Sure. Now, given the fact that you spent so much time with LA Guns, Stacey, did that, as you ventured out into the various other things that you did once you left, which eventually turned into Let It Rock, did that help you? Did that hurt you? You know, because I've heard it both ways from musicians. For some, obviously, for most, I would think that the fact that you were in a band that a lot of people know the name of is helpful. Yeah. At the same time, it really does kind of box you into a little corner that only certain people want to hear.
Yeah, it's kind of a fine line because you're always, you want to branch out. And it's funny, that's a great question because at the year, last year, I was working on 2 projects with Andy Johns. One of them where he actually passed away during the recording of, and it was a very big departure from LA Guns. It was the stuff was very STP cultish, and it was kind of cool to branch out and do some different stuff. And to me as a musician, I'm always about experimenting and trying new things. And unfortunately that project didn't really do anything. It's too bad because the material was really good, but. It's like, let's go back to my 80s metal roots, and, that's when I started putting the Let It Rock thing together with Jamie St. James and Oz Fox and Jimmy DeAnda and Sean McNabb and Jeff Duncan and all those people.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Let It Rock a little bit. We were talking before you came on the show, Neely and I were, about how those types of projects really have risen up and found themselves to be successful, almost on the back of the success of Steel Panther. Is that a true statement, or do you think that it's just that there's such a hunger out there for these tunes, for the classic tunes and the more the classic vibe than the classic tunes, that gives you guys and Nader the Priest and Steel Panther and the list goes on and on, the Rock Vault, all these different projects, legs?
I think it's a kind of a new wave. It's like, let's face it, we're all getting older, and I think you have to kind of reinvent yourself a little bit. But what's cool about these kind of things that are going on right now, it's kind of a wave, is like you kind of get the best of all of these elements. You get all these cool guys from all these different bands, and then you get the catalog. With Let It Rock, I'm doing something a little bit different. We do other 80s metal anthems, and there's some video production and stuff in the show. So it's one, like, giant big party, but we also do have original material, so you kind of get the best of everything with my show. But I did want to do. It just felt right to kind of to do this and take it on the road and have a little Vegas-y production with this thing, and it's so much fun too, and it's great. The guys in the band are just awesome guys, and first and foremost, amazing musicians. I think you'll start seeing more of this type of show. Yeah.
Well, Stacey, I want to take you back to a comment you made, a couple minutes ago, and I'm always interested in this because Chris and I have been doing this for 20 years, and we often read press releases from publicists and whatnot when a member leaves a band.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they cite the reason is musical differences. Mm-hmm. Like recently this week, a couple of members of Megadeth left the band, and one of them was musical differences. And you made a comment that made me curious, and I want to hear this from a musician's mouth. You said when you were bringing in ideas and that you were being stifled and you wanted to do something a little bit different. What would you have done differently in the LA Guns realm that would have allowed you to create music differently, or what would you have brought to the table that would get stifled from the principal members of LA Guns? Give me an example.
Yeah, well, LA Guns has a certain style, and I wasn't about to come in, hey, I got this song, it sounds like Pink Floyd, I mean, it wasn't quite that drastic, but I think what it was like, when you're all recording at different times, we really approached that album very differently than any record I had done with them before. And I've done 4 albums with the band, where everybody brought in finished songs. And whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, I think it's a great album, but you tend to lose that kind of kinship, and all of a sudden it's just like, well, hey, man, you got 4 songs, and I only got 2, and you brought in 3, and you wrote the title track, but I only got 1 song. It kind of creates this animosity, so to speak, and then you start breaking down percentages on the record. Well, this person's getting more and stuff, and it creates a little friction.
Really? That still goes on today, even with a band that, like an LA Guns, that basically their only income is really touring?
You know, yeah, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, how many records are you selling? I mean,
well, who's selling records these days?
Nobody. I mean, I think Hollywood Forever did 10,000, and that's pretty respective in this day and age, considering, you know, the state of selling records in the market. So we were happy. You know, it wasn't nobody was unhappy with the way it came out, but there was that sense going into it from a business standpoint. But you know, what would happen is I would work with Andy at night, and then during the day, the band would listen to stuff I did. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Well,
you know. And
what did you do that they didn't like? I mean, again, I'm not a musician, so I'm asking as a fan. Yeah. What could you have really done aside from down-tune your guitar and sound like Korn? You know, then sound like a hard melodic rock guitarist. What would you have done that was so different that it would just be vetoed right away? What was it that you were doing?
Well, for example, it was like I was getting very complex with the solos, and it's funny. And I remember, you know, that year, not long after the album came out, was Phil had mentioned in an interview, said, you know, Blades has turned into almost Joe Satriani, and we've had to really pull the reins back on him. And you know, in a way, in you know, his defense, it was true. I was becoming a different guitar player, and it wasn't really, I don't think, you know, fitting the band of how I wanted to express myself. And you know, that happens. I mean, we all change. It was just like, you know, I didn't want to play like Joe Perry. That, you know, as much as I love that stuff, I really wanted to do something different on this record. So that created a lot of tension, and you know, I kind of, you know, bit my lip a few times, and I had to change all these solos and stuff like that, stuff that I worked my ass off on. You know, there wasn't really the songs were cool that I brought in. I brought in Hollywood Forever, Venus Bomb, Vine Street Shimmy. I co-wrote a few other things, and I ended up a song called Rattlesnake, which was on the Japanese, a bonus track on the Japanese release. But I think it was my approach, and that kind of started, you know, that was kind of the differences and stuff like that. So, you know, I guess at the end of the day, I might be the default for that, you know. But, you know, musicians, I think, do change from time to time. But I could have been like, you know, I'd have been like, fuck that, I'm not changing a thing, you know, and I'm not a team player. You know, I'm not that guy, you know, and maybe I should have been. I don't know, you know, but I'm not that guy. I'm a team player. So
yeah,
reluctantly.
As I mentioned before, Stacey, I've hung out with you on a few occasions. You're a very laid-back guy, very genuine, very nice, very kind. Everybody in that camp has always been nice to me anytime that I've come out to the show, and again, that's why it was such a shock to both Chris and I when we heard the announcement that you were leaving, and I was like, wow, what the hell's going on there, you know? And we only thought the only reason, as you know, we thought, well, the only possible reason could be that maybe Tracy is brokering a deal to come back or something, you know, and that
not
obviously was not the case.
No.
And you know, obviously you struck out and you did, you know, make connections with, you know, people in your circle there. And, you know, Jamie St. James is a very personal, close friend of mine. In fact,
love that guy.
You can ask him.
I love him. Yeah.
I'm going to pull an Eddie Trunk here.
Sure.
I was personally responsible for getting him back into music.
Nice. Because I know he lived in Ohio there for a while.
And he was out of music totally, and I ran into him at a Dawkins show at the Cleveland Agora, and I was doing the classic metal show, and I invited him down to the station. I was like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm building dog kennels."
Right.
It's like, why are you doing that? You should be doing music. I'm done with it. LA's behind me. I'm not doing this anymore. I introduced him to some musicians in Cleveland, and he got the fire back into him, and he got back into music,
Yeah. No, he's a great singer, and I've loved playing with him. And I actually just played Firefest with Black and Blue. I filled in for one of their guitar players, and we co-headlined one of the nights at Firefest in Nottingham, England, and that was just amazing, because I was a big Black and Blue fan, still am. I grew up with those records, so to play all those old songs was just awesome. I mean, it was great.
Sure. Now let me ask you a question, Stacey. With the new band, with Let It Rawk, when you're out there and you're when you're putting the songs together, obviously it's an all-star project, and you guys have, you have a set established type of sound that each of you does. I mean, Jamie St. James doesn't sound like Lejean from Seven Dust, and you obviously don't sound like Tony Iommi or whatever. But at the same time, you're playing songs that are across the spectrum. So does that force you to adapt what you do to the songs, or do you try to bring your own flavor to each song?
I think we bring our own flavor, but we stay true to the material too, and that's what's great. I love about this band and love about these guys is that everybody's been doing this for decades, and so everybody brings their own little thing to the table, and when we play these songs, just the sonic push is just over the top, and that's what's really great about this band is, like, when you come see the band live, it's just like, whoa, man, this is an amazing show, and just the amount of air we're pushing off stage, and I think that everybody's done this for so long, like I was saying, that they have mutual respect for everybody else's catalog and things that they've done, and it comes out, I think, in the music and when we're playing together.
Definitely. Now, another thing I'm just curious about, and certainly you had a lot of experience with this, probably half of your time with LA Guns, and now in a different way, the same experience. When you were in LA Guns, was it the same time that Tracy had his own version of LA Guns running for a little while?
Right.
And now you have your Vegas project going on, and he has obviously Raiding the Rock Vault going on. So, and both of you obviously.
Oh, he's not in that anymore.
Oh, he's not.
No.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. I think he left that. Yeah.
I did not know he left that.
Well, you do now.
Yeah, there you go. You educated me. I guess my question still could be asked, though. Is there and was there creative, competition between the two of you?
You mean between the different bands, or
not necessarily between the different bands per se, but let's face it, you were the guy that replaced him in LA Guns. And then he had a project in Vegas, and you had a project in Vegas. And I'm not saying that you formed your project in Vegas because he had a project in Vegas, but
I mean, we have been playing. Let It Rawk's been playing nationally too, so it's not just relegated to Vegas. Whereas Raiding the Rock Vault is a 5-night-a-week residency here. So there's quite a bit of difference with that. But yeah, he's not involved with that anymore. But I think the lineup that I mean, Adam Hamilton was in the band for quite a few years while I was, and then Adam stopped and became producer, songwriter, and studio engineer. And when Scotty came on the band, we always just sounded good because we all had passion for what we're doing. And for me, I was always about play the music to the T. Be true to it because I, was a fan of the band, and I wouldn't. That's my work ethic. But it's like I wouldn't have it any other way than to be 100% true to the music. So I think with that work ethic, it comes across and why the band sounded so good. And it's a very different band than they have now. especially with Scotty out of it too. So that's kind of odd too that things ended up the way they did, because as the four of us, that was an amazing lineup. I think the best since the original lineup.
Well, I agree, Stacey. Why is LA Guns such a revolving door? What do you just your thoughts right off the top of your head? Why is it a revolving door of you musicians?
I don't know if it's a thing where it's just like ego, or that's a hard question to answer. I mean, I have my reasons why I left the band, and there are other reasons why people have left this band, whether they stopped playing music or if it was a personal difference or anything like that. But it seems to go that way, and it's unfortunate too, because it is such a great band with a great catalog and a historic band from LA Strip. But like I said, I mean, I the 10 years I was in the band, I really, really look fondly back on that, and it sucks that things that I was going through during my departure were happening, and that we couldn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And if we had, I'd probably be still in the band.
Sure.
But it's habit. It's a marriage. You can go through history of every rock and roll band, Kiss, Aerosmith. It all happens. It's basically a marriage, and some marriages work, some marriages don't.
Right.
Am I going to sit there and diss people in that organization? No, I'm not that kind of guy.
Right.
I never was, and I didn't want to air my dirty laundry.
Yeah, I get it, and trust me, I've known Phil and Steve for a lot of years. I've done some meet and greet things with them and arranged different things with them, and they've always been kind to me, and I doesn't have a bad thing to say about them. And I was sad to see that you left the band. I'm sure you heard that in our discussion from 2 years ago.
Yeah, thank you.
And but anyway, clear something up for me, Stacey, and this is something Chris and I deal with. We've been doing this show for a long time. A year from January, we'll have been doing this 20 years.
Wow!
And
nice.
people often, and I know you know this, and I think this will ring true for you, but I want you to throw a number at this, not necessarily specifically, but just give me an idea.
Right.
People often associate notoriety and fame with wealth. And, because people know the Classic Metal Show or know Chris's name or my name, they automatically think we're wealthy from doing this.
Right.
And we know that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Give me a number. What does a touring guitarist with an LA Guns knock down a week?
It's so random, you guys. It really depends. It's never the same, I mean, unless you're Kiss and you're making $1 million a night, or Aerosmith, where you're going to be making big salaries. It can go from anywhere from like a lower dose show to a show of $5,000 or more, and then you've got to factor in, flights and flying in the day before. Is the promoter going to pick up the 5 hotel rooms? Is there's gas, there's van rentals, there's baggage fees, all of that stuff that goes into it. People don't realize. It's like, that guy must be living in a house up in the hills, and it's not the case. I mean, do we make a comfortable living? Yes. Without a doubt, but it's like we're not driving Ferraris and Porsches, and obviously you can't tour 365 days a year.
Right.
So, what is cool about having a little bit of extra time on my hand is it allows me to do other projects.
Right.
And in fact, Scotty Griffin and I are starting a new project called Atomic Radio. Which is a cool cover band that we'll do nationally in Vegas. So we're in the midst of putting that together. It's pretty much put together, and hopefully start debuting that in February. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've got my Let It Rawk thing. Another cool thing is that I do a lot of music production placement for TV through Jerry Dixon and Eric Turner from Warrant.
Right.
And they have a production company that I do a lot of work for them. So I got my hands in a lot of different things. So,
sure.
But it was a big change, to go from doing 60 to 80 shows a year, year after year after year, sometimes more, to completely being off the road and doing 4 shows in 2013. It was, I needed some time off, but it was a big change, and that took some time to get used to. But that's like anything. It's no matter how big you are, whatever, to relaunch a new career and a new band, it takes a lot of heart and soul, and it takes a lot of time and patience. So that it's been a big kind of change over the last couple of years. But,
sure.
I'm happy where I'm at right now.
Right. Well, can you tell me anything about your time in Rock's Gang? I know that was kind of brief, but how did you get connected with Rock's Gang, and how much involvement did you have there? Because that was really during the time that I know they were kind of like a flash in the pan late in the 80s and didn't really do a whole lot in the 90s. I actually spoke with Kevin Steele on a few occasions, doing with the whole Mojo Gurus thing that they do. But how much involvement did you have with that, and how busy were you with that?
That was early '90s. They had an ad in Metal Edge, and I sent them a press kit, and they loved what it was about and everything. And I flew down and I auditioned and I got the gig. And gosh, it just seems so long ago. I was 24 years old then. I spent 8 years in that band. The first couple of years were really cool. I don't know what it was with that, because they always were turning down tours and stuff like that. And again, I think it was like a kind of like, I'm better than that, attitude. And once after the 7th or 8th year, I kind of felt like I was spinning my wheels with that, and then it started turning into this Mojo Guru thing, and I just wasn't. It was a complete departure, like this hillbilly swamp blues thing, and I'm not that kind of guitar player.
Right.
I'm a rock and roll guitar player.
Sure.
Do I like the blues? Playing the blues? I love it, but so it was. There was a lot of butting heads with that too. So I left Florida, and there were 2000, and but it's like I'm very grateful for that gig. Got me on my way, and it was that was a great band. There was times when just in the last year I thought of doing a reunion with that, but I'm always seeing these things pop up with my name being used and tracks being used and without being compensated, and that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So that puts a hamper on any.
Well, if it's any consolation to you, Stacey, Blabbermouth often runs stories about the Classic Metal Show, and I never see a dime from that. So,
okay, I know. It's like, this business is just one big, take it up the ass, right?
Well, Stacey,
I'm still, after how many? I've been doing this, God, since the late '80s. I'm like still taking it up the ass.
Right. Well, you should be used to it by now.
I know. You think?
It
just happened to me on a Let It Rawk run. It was like it was a show that was a complete fiasco, and got screwed for a bunch of money.
Right. Well,
it still happens.
Well, Stacey, how much time do we have here with you? Are you open or what? Because
about 4 more minutes. I'm actually going up to see my boys and more.
Okay, because I got a million questions for you, and I'd like to have you come back on.
It's a two-parter then.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be continued.
Right. Well, you do have other things going on. You have a book that you're promoting. Tell us a little bit about that.
That has actually been out for quite a while, man. The last 4 years of it just gone just a blink of an eye. That is called Snake Eyes. Came out 2000, I think, end of 2008. So it's funny because people are still buying it, and it's like the timeline ends around that time, and it's so much has happened in the last 5 years. So, which I actually have updated the book and written a kind of second version. I've been sitting on that for about a year or so. So I may end up re-releasing that material. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet, but it is finished, So, but the book's been out for quite a while. So
excellent.
But I got great reviews and a lot of positive feedback on it. So
good. Well, what else you got going on? I know you got the Let It Rawk, you got the book, you got your new another new cover or tribute band rather you're working on, and what else you got on the burner?
Ron Keel and I had talked about doing an acoustic duo, but he is going to be starting this brand new project in South Dakota, actually. Radio show, and it's a whole big production. So I'm not sure if we're going to have time to actually do that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to 2015 and ready to. Actually, we're playing. Let It Rawk is playing New Year's Eve here in Vegas. So great way to end the year and great way to start next year. So we're going to be double busy with that. Play way more shows than we did this year, and. I've got the Atomic Radio thing with Scotty Griffin, and keep doing my music production stuff for television, and just stay super busy and try to recoup all the money I've been screwed out of the last 25 years.
Perfect. All right, Stacey.
Penny by penny, damn it.
Right. Well, why don't you throw out those plugs? Where can people find you? I know you're on the Twitter, obviously, but you got a website too? Yes,
StaceyBlades.com. There's also LetItRawk.com, where rock is spelled R-A-W-K. Of course, I got my Facebook page. There's the Let It Rawk Facebook page, and I'm also on Twitter.
Nice.
Stacey_Blades. So
right.
I'm pretty much everywhere. You just type in my name, and I just say, just Google me.
Sure. Well, Stacey, I'm going to be honest with you here, bro. We've had a lot of big names on this show. We've had people anywhere from Rob Halford to Tony Iommi, etc. But when Chris told me that you were going to be on the show, I was very excited to have you on, and I'm glad you did come on, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk. And believe me, I've got a million more questions for you. So let's make a plan and have you come on in the new year. Yeah,
that sounds good. Let's talk again. Yeah, let's talk before the new year, and I'll just I'll hit you up, message, and we can chat a little more. But it's great to catch up with you guys, man. It's been a while, and I always love the show and what you guys are about. So
excellent.
I thank you.
All right. Well, Stacey, before we let you go, I'm going to ask you the traditional classic metal show question. We've asked this for the last 15 years or so. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
I think he is definitely the utter, the like rock till you drop. The guy's an icon. He's rock and roll. He is rock and roll. I mean, still doing it to this day, and just a total survivor and rock and roll hero. And I can't say anything bad about the guy. He's awesome. Whether you like Motorhead or not, I mean, there's something to be said about him and as a musician and a performer, and just what he stands for.
Absolutely. All right, Stacey, we appreciate you coming on the Classic Metal Show, and I'm serious, bro. Let's have you on in the new year because I need to ask you some more stuff.
Absolutely.
You're a wealth of knowledge.
This is your life.
Right. Well, I have the L.A. Guns Hollywood Forever release pulled up here, and I want to end the interview with a track from that. So what should I play and tell us a story about it?
I think the title track, Hollywood Forever, little riff I wrote a couple of years ago. So,
well, wait a minute. Are you taking over the CD here? You got too many songs on this, more than everybody else, or what's the story?
He's trying to get the 2 cents a play so that he can get paid.
Right.
That's one cool thing. All the stuff with LA Guns was always on the money and stuff like that. And like I said, it was a great 10 years. It sucks that things ended up kind of the way they did, but it's it's life. It's you know, who's to say down the road if that changes? Who's to say? But you know, we did a great amount of work with them, and just a lot of really fun, memorable shows and memories, and you know, all good.
Excellent. All right. Well, Stacey, we appreciate you calling in, and we're going to end this with something from the Hollywood Forever release, and this is the title track exclusively here
on your classic metal show.